Hi everyone, my name is Josie Spar, and my Capstone project is on occupational therapy-based interventions for individuals that are struggling with postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, also known as POTS. I chose to research this specific topic because I personally struggle with POTS myself, and it has completely flipped my world upside down. Living with it day to day is extremely difficult, and I personally am on a journey where I'm trying to figure out and learn things that will help me function better every day. Doing things like showering and working all day and trying to focus on school, all of this stuff is a huge challenge for me every single day. And so the past year has been really rocky, and I'm trying to find things that will help and that I can eventually take all the tools that I'm learning and help other people. And on top of that, after I graduate with my bachelor's, I am going to doctorate school to become an occupational therapist, with the hopes of taking occupational therapy and my struggles with POTS, combining them, and making something life-changing for my future patients. So, starting with the introduction, POTS is a condition that affects the autonomic nervous system and causes a ton of symptoms like dizziness, lightheadedness, brain fog, nausea, exercise intolerance. All of these things occur especially when an individual goes from lying down or sitting to a standing position. These symptoms can make everyday tasks seem so challenging. Even the simple things like showering, getting ready, or just working, like I mentioned before, can be so draining for POTS patients. While there is a lot of research already published on managing symptoms, there's a lot less that focus on how to actually improve the function of day-to-day living. That's where occupational therapy comes into place. That's what occupational therapists do. So they focus more on meaningful everyday activities like getting dressed and showering, things that you do on a day-to-day basis that you don't put much thought into until you start to struggle with them. The purpose of my project was to evaluate whether occupational therapy-based interventions actually can improve activity tolerance and participation in daily life. For my methods, I used a secondary research approach. I analyzed peer-reviewed, already published articles from sources like PubMed and Google Scholar and the National Library of Medicine, focusing specifically on studies that included individuals diagnosed with POTS and also interventions related to occupational therapy. I looked at both objective measures, which focuses more on like the physiological side of things, so like heart rate and blood pressure. And I also looked for subjective measures like symptom severity and the ability to complete daily activities, which obviously varies from person to person. Then I took those articles and I compared the results across all the studies to identify patterns and determine what interventions were most effective. So moving into the results, I found consistent trends across the literature that I chose for my paper. Interventions like energy conservation, graded activity, and activity modification showed improvements in both symptom management and daily function, which is exactly what we're looking for. For example, one study showed improved quality of life and increased participation after occupational therapy interventions, while another one highlighted better engagement in meaningful activities using the occupation adaptation model. Although a lot of the studies focused on exercise-based interventions, which is also effective, but again, that focuses more on physiological, and where occupational therapy comes into play is more of like real life functioning, which ultimately is more important. And that helps people maintain their sense of independence, which is also really important no matter what age you are. Everyone wants to feel like they can complete the most simple tasks. So overall, the most effective approaches were individualized and focused on gradual progression, so a little bit at a time. These findings highlight an important shift in focus. It's not just about reducing symptoms, masking symptoms. It's about helping people actually live their lives in a quality way. Occupational therapy provides practical strategies like pacing and modifying tasks and building little tolerance over time, because that is what is going to produce long-term effects. These are realistic tools that individuals can apply every day, especially since POTS symptoms do not look the same every day. Every day for POTS patients looks different. One limitation of this project is that it was based on secondary research and a limited number of studies, so more research is definitely needed, especially when it comes to looking at long-term outcomes. In conclusion, occupational therapy-based interventions are a valuable and effective approach for individuals that are struggling with POTS because they focus on improving real-life function, which then in turn minimizes symptoms. The main take-home message is that improving how someone functions every day is just as important, if not more important, than improving their symptoms. Helping individuals regain independence and confidence in everyday activities is what truly has a lasting impact. Thank you.